Lesson 3.3, Rate of Change and Slope. Our essential question is, how do you find the slope of a line from a graph? So our first vocab word is positive slope. What a positive slope looks like, if I draw a sketch, a positive slope is one that is going up from left to right. Our next slope is a negative slope. A negative slope is a slope that goes down from left to right. So that would look like this. Draw my x and y axis, and the slope is going down. A zero slope. A zero slope would represent when there is no slope at all. So a zero slope is going to be a horizontal line. All horizontal lines have slopes of 0. The next one is an undefined slope. That would be a vertical line. And I like to think of the undefined slope as being so steep that you can't even define it. It's so steep. So it's vertical, straight up and down. It's like the maximum steepness. So horizontal is like flat, no slope, because it's completely flat. And then vertical, it's so steep that you cannot define it. Okay, and I'm going to cross out this slope formula because we're not working on that one today. That will be on one of our later lessons. Okay, so find the slope of the line by counting the rise and the run. So slope equals rise over run. Rise over run. To count the slope, you always want to start at the point on the left, because we look at slope from left to right, just like reading. So start at the point on the left and move to the point that's on the right. So if I start at the point on the left, it's right here. I'm going to count my rise first, and then my run. The rise could be up or down, and you always run to the right because we're starting at the left. So we're always moving from left to right. So my rise, to get to my other point, I'm going to have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So up 5, and then I'm going to go right 1. Right 1. So up 5, over 1 to the right. My slope is 5. 5 divided by 1 is 5. Our next example, slope equals rise over run again. And remember that the rise could be up or down. The run, you run to the right. So if I start at the point on the left, I'm not going to rise up on this one. I'm going to have to rise down. So I go down 1. And then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So down 1 means -1. My slope would be -1. And then over 4 to the right. So -1/4. So when you're going up is a positive number. And when you're going down for the rise, down is a negative number. And you're always running to the right, left to right. So down 1 over 4 means the slope is -1/4. Remember how we said a positive slope from left to the right, the line is going up? So on this first one, this line was going up, so it's a positive slope. This second one, it was going down, so it's a negative slope. Now this third one, you may notice that we didn't give you any points, so you've got to put them on first. You want to pick spots where the line is going right through a corner of the grid lines. So we need to pick 2 good points to use. For counting our slope. So it has to be right on the corners. So I am going to say that this point looks really good to me. And then if I follow along the line, this point would look good as well. There are other points that are good to use, but I'm going to choose to use those 2 because you only need 2. Now I know this slope is going to be positive because the line is going up from left to right. So rise over run. I start on the left. I go up 1, 2, 3. And then I go over 1, 2 to the right. So up 3, over 2. My slope is positive 3/2. You don't want to turn your slopes into decimals or mixed numbers. Just leave it in improper fraction, as long as it's in lowest terms. Okay, another one where I need a couple of good points. This point looks good, this y-intercept point. And then I think this point looks pretty good as well. So my slope is rise over run. This line is going downhill from left to right, so I'm expecting it to be a negative slope. So if I count it, starting at my point on the left, I'm going to go down 1, and then over 2 to the right. So down 1, right 2. Down 1 means negative 1, right 2. So my slope is negative 1/2. My next line, this is horizontal, so if I put 2 points on this line, you may notice that if we're counting rise over run here, the rise, to go from left to right, I don't rise at all, so that means 0. And then the 2 that I selected, the run would be 1, 2, 3. 0 divided by 3 is 0. All horizontal lines have a slope of 0. My next one, you probably expected this. You can put 2 points on this one. Now the rise over run. My rise, I guess I don't really have a point on the left, so I'm just going to start at the bottom one. I'm going to rise up 2, but I don't go over it all. And because if you put this in your fraction, it'll give you an error message because you cannot divide something by nothing. So dividing by 0 is undefined. You cannot divide 2 by 0. You get an error message on your calculator. You can't divide 2 by nothing. So all vertical lines have slopes that are undefined. You should be able to write a summary now. And then you have a couple of versatile worksheets to work on. You can write right on those worksheets, find your points, count out your slopes, and then look at those messages to make sure that you find a slope that matches. If it doesn't match, check to see if you've made a mistake with your positive slope versus your negative slope, or maybe where you placed your points.